The following program is an opinion program. The opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of this program are not the opinions of the management, staff, and advertisers of this station. Please direct all criticism, concern, and adulation to the hosts of this program.
Welcome to Alabama Politics. This week, I am Dale Jackson. I'm a radio talk show host. You can hear my show Monday through Friday on WVNN in Huntsville from 5 until 9 a.m. and from 10 until noon on Talk 99.5 in Birmingham. With me, as always, Mecca Music. She is from 256today.com. She's the CEO. Smart news for smart people. Smart enough to know that you can't come in fifth with a government document where they're searching for something to move to your location and then demand that the president just make it happen because it's what you want. Stay tuned. That's called a tease. We will continue on here right now. We got a lot to talk about. I got a parting shot for you. Richard Dixon will be with us. He is a talk radio host from Birmingham on Talk 99.5. But right now, let's go ahead and get to that 2-minute warning. All right, Mecca, lots happening here, and someone said that they did this bill solely for me. I don't know whether or not that is true or not. I have been whining and complaining a lot about this lately. School choice, or as I call it, real school choice. I've been referring to it as real school choice because there's a difference between what we heard school choice might look like in Alabama, and that's charter schools, magnet schools, and things of that like, and then real school choice, which is vouchers. That's what I refer to it as. So this particular school choice bill is called the Price Act. It's about giving parents the ability to make decisions for their own kids. Homeschool, private school, or whatever you want. What is not in this is strings tied to testing, which is what they're going to want. Some people are going to want to add that. And it's 100% of the state payment for kids will go to the parents into a savings account, like a health savings account, to pay for educational expenses. Mecca, this is a big swing by State Senator Larry Stutz of Tuscumbia. I talked to him this week, and he seems to think it's on the right track. I talked to people who were always no's, and it's moving. It's moving. I think there's a potential this thing's a thing.
To say I am surprised that a bill, like you said, real school choice versus, what
school choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One that actually has the money that follows the student and follows the children. That's impressive. Do you think it'll make it through?
This is like I said, this is a big swing. I mean, it really is. Because normally what you see in some of these other states is there are two things that happen. The private schools can take it if they do the standardized testing because, we need to know how things are going. It's like, get a mirror and look how you're doing. We wouldn't be having this conversation if that was the case. And then the other thing they want is to do like 80% of the school allotment, and then you send the rest to the school system. And I'll tell you what, that was proposed before, and they shot it down. If this gets through, superintendents are only going to have themselves to blame that they missed out on that 20%.
Well, see, and let me add this, though, since we're talking about superintendents. Let's talk about the public schools for a moment. Right now, there's enough money in the budget. Budgets are kind of exactly, they're flush, right? Will this, if this goes through as has been proposed, will there be eventual backlash? What if the schools can't afford their football team or something like that, and then it comes back as we took money from public schools?
There's a private school in Huntsville that has almost 1,000 students. None of them are getting anything from the government. Each of those students will now get $6,000. You know how much that is? I did the math earlier. Took a long time, had advocates and all that stuff.
Good job.
$6 million. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money out of the school systems. And good luck. I hope they win. I hope they're right. I think this is a necessary thing. All right, let's talk about the Space Command. Now, this is not the Space Force. I know a lot of people think this is the Space Force, the Donald Trump created thing. This is not that. This is Space Command. It's part of the Air Force. And should it move to Alabama? That seems to be the question. Apparently, the Colorado delegation is standing on the floor of the House and Senate whining constantly and demanding that they get the Space Command because, no, I don't know. There's no reason. Joe Biden, apparently, they want Joe Biden to fix this for them. Joe Biden, I don't even think he knows this is going on. But the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, rather, has made it clear this was all done correctly. There don't seem to be any hiccups. There have been other issues that we've seen. You had a report at 256today.com from the Government Accountability Office, and it had, as I mentioned earlier, clumsily, Colorado as fifth
fifth. They're not even seconds.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out this wasn't a publicly available report that we did have, and shows Redstone number 1, and then, you know, some of the other candidates. But the fact that Colorado has made such a ruckus over this, and they're fifth. They in this report, this government report, they're fifth. So for those who are saying it's political, or, you know, want to make it like a Trump versus Biden thing, it's absolutely not. If a change was to be made after all these reports have consistently said Huntsville, Redstone Arsenal is the number 1 best choice and decision, then it would become political.
Lloyd Austin, like I said, the Secretary of Defense, he made it clear there was a report that said there's nothing wrong here. This report shows that. I have not seen, and maybe I'm wrong, I have not seen a single thing that says they should go there. You know what I have seen? Members of Congress standing on the floor of the House and saying, how are space cadets going to get abortions? I mean, that's literally, you think I'm kidding?
No, I saw it. I saw it as well.
That's literally all they're talking about. Like, that is the most important thing in the world. And I think, man, that is a terrible argument. And I know a thing about terrible arguments. I get it. I know a thing or two about terrible arguments, and that is it. So, yeah, I just don't. This isn't compelling. It's just not compelling. The argument is not compelling. I just don't see how it's taking so long. All right, let's talk about executions and prisons here. Let's talk about executions first. Now, last week, we saw that the review process was over, and it's time to start killing people. That's basically the gist of what Steve Marshall and Kay Ivey, the Attorney General, and the governor said. Look, this is what it is. Everything's fine. We're going to hire some more people. We're going to extend the death warrant. And things like that. Is it a botched execution if the guy dies? I don't think so. So we should have more.
It absolutely is.
I'm being facetious. But here's what's interesting. Now the groups that we're complaining about now want an independent review. This is all political gamesmanship. That's all it is. There's no merit here at all. It's all gamesmanship. Do you agree or disagree?
Well, I mean, the back and forth a little bit, but I do believe a review was needed, and I thought that was a wise choice. Right. We've talked about this before, whether you're for executions or against executions, you should want this to happen.
Right, and I'm for more executions. I think we should start emptying death row pretty quickly. But the simple fact here is and I love this. This is like one of those situations where you kind of screw yourself, like we talked about earlier. Think about it. All it did was extend the death warrants, so now there's no more, oh my God, they argued now we had to get it done before midnight. Now they're just like, whatever, go do whatever you want to do. And it also basically hired more medical personnel who said, oh, you can't get the vein? All right, let me try. And
I kind of feel like that should have been done.
Oh, whatever. The guy who complained about this stabbed a preacher's wife.
I know.
Now, he was paid to do it by the preacher. So
I know, and that's him. Right. This is us as a state and a society.
As a society, I got it. But I find it rather funny.
I know.
And I do mean funny, like ha funny, like, you know, somebody's slipping on a banana peel in a cartoon funny. That the guy who's complaining about how it hurt him when they pricked him stabbed a woman multiple times, and he's out there complaining about it. I know you think it's somewhat crass the way I'm talking about it.
I do.
But I know you do. I'm just telling you. But that's reality of this. The guy these are the worst people in the world complaining, and I'm like, feed him into a trash compactor. Why do I care? I'm sorry.
Too far.
Well, I'm just saying. That's what it is. I'll let you have the last word on this.
No, don't.
You're done.
Thanks.
Trash compactor ends the conversation.
That was it.
All right, let's talk about this next thing. Ron DeSantis, he's got a new book out. He is traveling the country, and he is coming to Alabama next week. And the question is, why? Why Alabama? That is the question that everyone is asking. Now, we saw some polls from earlier this year that showed Ron DeSantis really up on Donald Trump here in Alabama. We've seen some polls nationally that show some a lot closer. But lately, Donald Trump is actually getting a little bit of traction. Was it the fact that he went to Palestine, Ohio, and was in the news again? What is happening here, and why Alabama for Ron DeSantis?
Well, as far as knowing why Ron DeSantis decided to do this, I can't actually answer that, but I can say the support, and just based on the RSVPs for this visit, for this dinner that's being put on, they had to move to a larger venue because there were so many people who wanted to go, and it's not a cheap affair.
No, it's not a cheap affair, and there's a lot of people that want to go. The short answer is to sell a book.
Well,
that would be number one. That's the short answer, but there is, of course, more to it than that. I think hitting these red states, even though they're locked up, he would never have to come to Alabama to win Alabama if he was the nominee for president. We look at this national poll, and I think we lose track of the fact that you got to vote in these individual states. And that's how it's going to work. Now, Alabama's not super early, but they're not super late. So the state does matter in that regard. And you're starting to see like some of the other states are maybe more moderate states. So even though Trump has this big lead, if you look at some of these other states where they are, DeSantis is up in the early states.
Right.
That's a momentum shifter.
It absolutely is. And to get Trump supporters in Alabama, which has typically, those Republican voters have loved him, that would be big.
All I see happening, I don't see anyone shifting to Trump. I don't see, so I don't know where those numbers come from. I'm not saying they're wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying I don't see anyone shifting to him. What I do see is every time he says Ron DeSanctimonious, Ron DeSanctus, which I guess is the one he's sticking with, which I don't know what it means. I guess it just sounds holy or something. So maybe we go with that. I just see people kind of rolling their eyes and be like, okay, I'll vote for him if he's the guy, but I'm not excited about it, which is the opposite of how he became president because he fired people up. I sat here on this very show. It had a different name, and the person looked a little bit like you, but not quite the same. And I said to Jeff Sessions, "What are you doing?" Like I remember saying that to him. Why are you supporting this guy? And he said he's got the energy, and I was like,
"But he doesn't have that energy now."
I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see the energy there at all. All right, let's take a quick time out here. We will now be joined by Richard Dixon. He's a talk show host down in Birmingham. Look forward to that conversation. I got a party shot later. We'll be right back on Alabama Politics this week.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
Want fun, safe, intelligent fitness programming? Want to build muscular strength, cardiovascular endurance, drastically improved range of motion and mobility, and learn proper nutrition to fuel your life with energy and emotional health? Well, come find out why Iron Tribe Fitness is ranked one of the top 5 fitness programs in America. Come find out why personal training and intentionally working on your current movement patterns individually is not only important, it's just another core value that separates Iron Tribe Fitness from other fitness facilities.
To learn how to get your 2-week free pass, go to irontribefitness.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you.
2 years ago, Alabama made a smart decision to invest in infrastructure and fix our broken old roads and bridges. But we're still awfully stingy about who gets to drive on them. Nearly 170,000 Alabama drivers have lost their licenses because they missed payments on tickets. Support the bipartisan driver's license bill and get Alabamians back on the road. Workers drive Alabama. When we're free to drive, we're free to work.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I'm Dale Jackson. With me, as always, Mecca Music. We are joined this week by Richard Dixon. He's a talk show host on Talk 99.5. He's the morning guy, Dixon and Vining, and we're glad to have him here. I think this is the first time he's ever been on this program, and we're thrilled. Hopefully we'll get him on a bunch more here in the near future. Richard, thanks for joining us. My question to you is this. I've been following school choice for a long time. I know it's not necessarily a hot topic, but it's a topic that I think is heating up as we get closer to this legislative session that's coming around the corner. Have you seen in all your years involved in Alabama and on the radio, is this the most attention you've ever seen school choice getting? Is this the closest you think it's ever been to being passed?
Yeah, which doesn't mean, of course, that it's going to get passed, but it is about time that it got attention. The problem with school choice, especially on a nationwide basis, is that it keeps getting tried in pockets, and it keeps getting tried by half measures. And the reality is, if you really gave people a choice, forget about failing schools, forget about, anything except I don't want my kid to go to public school. I want to take them out of school, and I want the tax dollars that are going with him, and I want to use them somewhere else. In the handful of cases where that has been tried, in one district in Ohio, in Milwaukee, a couple of places in Florida, it has been a roaring success. And the advocates for school choice continue to, agree to this sort of watered down version of it. And then after a couple of years, when you don't see results, those who don't like it say, see, it doesn't work. And they get their way and they end up canceling it.
This particular bill, 100% of the state allocation going to go to the parents, give them the opportunity of homeschooling, different districts, private schooling. And one of the things, like you'd mentioned, when they actually do it, I remember, there was a time when, right before Barack Obama took office, Washington, D.C. did vouchers. And it showed a bunch of success in Washington, D.C. And Barack Obama came in, and because he's a Democrat president, he killed it. Not because it wasn't performing, but it was real school choice, and it was delivering, and they spiked it. This looks like real school choice to me. 100% of the allocation given to the parents, no testing strings attached. Would this be considered real school choice to you?
It looks like it, as far as one can tell. But, I haven't yet seen a good bill that the Alabama legislature can't screw up. So, it looks like real school choice now, and by the time they get done mangling it, it comes out to be like free soup.
Well, and Richard, speaking to that point, let's think about it in the upcoming legislative session. This will obviously face some opposition. What do you think it will hold as is? What do you expect some of the reactions in the legislature to be?
You get the usual, well, you're taking money away from schools that need it. Well, you're technically supposed to be using that money to educate my child. I'm taking my child out, so you don't need that money, right? So what's the problem? Why is it that private schools are so able to do this effectively and get better school scores overall at less per child than many public schools are? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Yeah, you're going to get that. You're going to get a lot of blowback from the teachers' unions who are going to argue that, the system only works if all children are involved in it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think one of the worst things that ever happened to education in America is when the government got involved.
The activation of those teachers' unions will start the minute this bill actually begins to exist and starts to go through the legislature. They will be activated. I would argue that the other side has not activated themselves at all. This is sort of happening because it's happening nationally, not because there's anything driving it in the state of Alabama. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I really haven't seen like a groundswell of support. I think we've sort of been cowed and beaten into a submission situation in the state of Alabama. And I don't know that we're ever going to pull ourselves out of it. Maybe if we see a little bit of hope here, and if they're able to do something like get rid of the grocery tax, then maybe the citizens of Alabama will begin to stand up and go, oh, so good things can actually happen.
Let's talk about that grocery tax for a second. We have heard no chance of that happening about 6 months ago. And now there's a surplus in education, which is interesting because of the school choice thing. And then you have all these legislators with different ideas. Savings account, structural tax reform like the food tax, a tax rebate of $300 or $400 given back, or $200 to $400, I guess is the right way to put that, given back to every person or couple or anything like that. So that conversation has moved as well because people have kind of spoken up about it. What do you see as most likely of tax reform there with all these different sides competing against each other?
And like I said, I've never seen a bill that the Alabama legislature can't make a mess of. I mean, these guys could screw up a middle school carnival. I'm inclined to believe that the best version would be to remove the tax. We are one of three states that tax our groceries. Just like we're one of three states where the state runs the liquor business. It's time to join the 21st century and stop this nonsense and don't tax necessities like groceries and really medicine and clothing like they do in most of the Midwest. Those taxes should be dumped as well. They hit the poor the hardest. It is the most regressive tax imaginable because everybody has to eat. So why in the world would you tax groceries? And yet here we are in Alabama continuing to do it.
Richard, so do you think then, when this first started, the tax rebate talk started, Ivey came out, led by a lot of state leaders to come out and say, yeah, we're going to support this. Have you seen the support for those rebates kind of dwindle as we get closer to the legislative session?
I think the problem with the rebate concept is this. You can always decide to end the rebate, and you won't get a lot of blowback from it. But if you take the tax off of groceries and then later you decide you want to try to put it on, I mean, there'll be hell to pay. There'll be people with pitchforks and torches at the Capitol. So this is why they're talking about rebate. Look, taking money out of legislators or any sort of government officials' hands is akin to committing, fratricide as far as they're concerned. You can't do it. This is our only power. We have the ability to spend money. How dare you take money away from us? It's insane, and yet this is something that really needs to happen.
Richard, last subject here, just real quick. Ron DeSantis coming in the next week to the state of Alabama. He's selling a book. This is his pre-presidential campaign. Looking at talk radio the way you do, because you do it every day, have you seen support for Donald Trump in the last 3 months grow or shrink? Because national polling is showing him increasing his numbers, and some polls gaining like 11 points. Do you see that?
I do not. I'm limited, of course. I'm only in the state of Alabama.
Right.
But, he's tending to drive people away by doing ridiculous. You can tout yourself without attacking Ron DeSantis, who, as near as I can tell, hasn't really done anything wrong. You can do well without attacking Nikki Haley. He's got a lot to stand up for. He's got a lot, he's got a record that he can run, and he's got a lot of good stuff that he can point to. When he does these insane ad hominem attacks against Ron DeSanctimonious, all he does is take people who were like, well, I used to like him, but now I'm kind of leaning the other way. I don't think he's gaining anybody, Dave. I don't see him actually winning anybody over with that. And I think the Democrats want nothing more than for Donald Trump to be the nominee because they know they can beat him because he's one of the most divisive candidates out there. Yes, he inspires people on the GOP to show up and vote for him. He inspires at least as many people on the other side to show up and vote against him. That's how we ended up with the president we have now.
Richard, let me slide in one more question for you. Let's look at Ron DeSantis really quickly. As far as his popularity growing, with that will come extra scrutiny. Do you believe that it will keep growing, or the scrutiny might kind of bring some supporters back to Trump?
I believe approximately 10 minutes after Ron DeSantis announces that he is running for the GOP nomination for president, he will be the biggest racist that has ever walked the earth, the hugest misogynist ever. This is a pretty standard talking points on the left. You have to define yourself and then define your opponent. And they always define their opponent the same way. He wants to cut Medicare. He wants to cut Social Security. He's a racist. He's done all kinds of racist things in the past. I mean, good Lord, they called Larry Elder, a black man who was running for the GOP governor's position in California. They called him a racist. No one is safe from this rhetoric. So, of course, they're going to give it their best shot. And, can DeSantis stand up to it? I guess that's why we have the competition, right?
There we go. Richard Dixon, thank you very much. Dixon and Vining.
Thank you.
Every single morning on Talk 99.5, Monday through Friday. Thanks for being here, Richard. Mecca's leaving as well, so the show's going to get a lot better. I've got a parting shot. Stay tuned. Hey folks, Dale Jackson here for my friends at University Kia. Now look, I love Kias. I've driven plenty of them. I used to have a Kia Sportage. When my son was born, my wife said, no, we got to get ourselves one of these big SUVs. The Telluride from University Kia is an absolutely amazing vehicle. You get it at a great price, but you get everything at University Kia at a great price. Learn more about them today. Head on over to universitykia.com. Find the perfect vehicle for you, new and pre-owned. They got it for you. universitykia.com.
Other southern states like Mississippi have stopped suspending folks' driver's licenses because they can't afford to pay tickets. Not Alabama. Nearly 170,000 Alabama drivers have lost their licenses because they missed payments on tickets. Hard to take care of your kids if you can't get them where they need to be. Support the bipartisan driver's license bill and get these folks back on the road. Workers drive Alabama. When we're free to drive, we're free to work.
You work hard to earn little escapes because doing your best means being your best. So let us help you discover your best at Premier Dental Spa. With our unique blend of cosmetic, dental, and spa-like aesthetic services, you'll leave feeling relaxed, refreshed, and renewed. Make sure the best you is here to stay and book your appointment online today at premierdentalspa.com.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here, and this is my son, Grant. Now, I'm here to talk to you about Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. He's a handful, I'm a handful, and if I want to stay married, I need Top Shelf Customized Cleaning to come and take care of my house. They do an amazing job for me, and they'll do an amazing job for you. Cindy loves them. I love them. Grant loves them as well. Check them out on Facebook. Top Shelf Customized Cleaning. And don't forget, call them today, 256-417-9122. And when you talk to them, make sure you tell them Grant sent you.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to Alabama Politics This Week. I am Dale Jackson. Thank you very much for being here. Don't forget, before we get into the parting shot, go on over to yellowhammernews.com. Sign up for my email blast. The 7 things you should be talking about today. You'll get those emailed directly to you, and you'll be informed, more informed than pretty much anyone else in the state. Mecca said, I think they wrote the school choice bill for me. So, I mean, come on, you can be a part of this. yellowhammernews.com. Check that out right there. Right now, though, let's go ahead and get to that parting shot. My parting shot this week is directed at, as Mecca mentioned earlier, all the different ideas there are out there for tax reform. I'm thinking that it might actually be a conspiracy theory, or a conspiracy. Let me offer up a conspiracy theory that will tell you why. If everyone has a different idea, if there are 3 major camps in the legislature, and I would actually argue 3 major camps within the Republican Party, then how are they going to get a majority even when they have a supermajority? So you have people who will go to you and say, well, I tried to do it. I tried to end the food tax. And you have someone else go to you and say, well, yeah, I wanted to put it into a savings account. The other person says, I wanted to give you a check for $200. Then you're not mad at any of them because you want them all to do something. And if it doesn't happen, well, oh well, they tried. And who are you going to blame for it? Which group? Well, you won't blame any of them because they all tried to do something good. It's sort of like the gambling situation. Where we have all these different options and things we can do, but nobody can agree on what we should actually do, so we do nothing. Is this an issue where we have too many options? It's possible, but we'll see how those get narrowed down. The governor's going to give a speech where she's going to lay out what she believes, and believe it or not, right now, a lot of people are asking what's going to be her agenda, which is kind of rare as we're this close to the legislative session, not knowing what the agenda is for the governor moving forward, but I guess we find out when she gives her speech. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much for watching Alabama Politics This Week. And we'll be back next week.